right, buckle up. This car has a spoiler. I just finished watching Oxygen, a French film that was on Netflix, and you know, I puzzled over for a moment, like, do I even want to record this? Because the number of people that watch this movie is probably going to be very small. A lot of people are not interested in sitting through, you know, foreign language films. And so the number of people in my audience that are going to watch this movie is probably going to be small. And the number of people that would tune in for this will be microscopic. I might get no views on this. But anyway, there's so much of this movie that I won't be able to talk about in my review because it so progressively reveals things, and the themes, you know, you can't really be talked about unless you're willing to spoil things. So let's just jump into it, because there are some things I'd love to react to. So she's a clone of Dr. Elizabeth Hansen, and is on her way along with a clone of her dead husband to colonize a planet 13, 14, whatever light years away. And it was interesting to have that reveal, the whole memory transfer thing. I'm trying to figure out if the movie is written from the perspective of naturalism or not. You know, from the perspective of naturalism, you have you have movies like Transcendence, the Johnny Depp movie, that treat the human as a completely physical creature. And they talk about uploading memories, you know, as if the memories are actually moving from one body to another, when that's really never what's happening. Even with an upload, you are copying and placing a copy of something in another location. It is not actually, even though we may delete the old copy after copying it to a new location, we are not literally moving those memories from our computer up to the cloud or something like that. You know, that's just the way we talk about these things. And that language has found its way into science fiction and the concept of transferring memories potentially in the future from a human body to a clone body, and in that way preserving the person. But you are not truly preserving that person. You are making a copy of elements of that person, and then it's a copy. And this movie both recognized that, but also assigned personhood to the copy, which is a really interesting thing to do. You know, the clone knew that she was a clone, knew that all of her memories were essentially lies, and that she'd been programmed to kind of have love for this other clone of, you know, her original copy or source DNA person's dead husband, you know. So she recognized, I've only been alive for 108 minutes. These are not my memories. This is all a lie. And yet, clearly, as audience members, we are meant to want her to be with this copy of the dead Leo. We are meant to care about these characters as though they are true persons, and yet there's a tension there because the movie refuses to allow us to think of them as continuations, literally, of the same person, because the doctor is actually alive. She was interacting with the doctor, the real Elizabeth that she was cloned from. So it's really interesting because conceptually, it does not. I'm not saying that it's not coming from a naturalistic point of view, but it does not fall into the habit of scripts that deal with this concept of treating the clone as basically identical to the same person. It's more along the lines of really The Sixth Day, the old Arnold Schwarzenegger movie about cloning, where a person had their memories and stuff copied into a clone body, but then in one scene, the clone actually wakes up before the original copy had died, and they briefly interact with each other. And so it's clear in that scene, you know, we are these are two different beings. So anyway, I don't. I think that was the major thing that I wanted to comment on. It's just a really interesting. You don't see that. I think maybe the sixth day was the last time I saw that idea kind of expressed. And I think we're also supposed to mourn with the clone Liz a bit, that she was created and then given this fate, treated this way. It's a violation kind of her human rights, as it were. She didn't want to be in space. She didn't want this fate thrust upon her, but yet she was. And so I think the movie's also meant to make us question the morality of cloning, because of the potential human rights we would be violating in the clones that we are creating. You know, if these are true copies of us, then do we have the right to make a clone and then decide that clone's life for them, you know? Now, from a non-naturalistic standpoint, I don't believe that we, well, I think it's very unlikely that we will be able to clone humans. Well, let me walk that back a little bit. Yeah, what's puzzling to me is the nature of this. This is where, in the coming years, neuroscience is going to be such an interesting field to follow and try to keep track of, even as laypersons, because there are theories of neuroscience that are non-naturalistic, that see the brain not as actually the repository for all of the memories that make us who we are, but are rather an access point to where our memories are actually stored in the non-physical component of who we are, in our spirit, in a non-physical component of who humans are. And with all the data that's coming through in, NDEs, near-death experiences and stuff, even though a lot of it is messy and unreliable in terms of some of the details, what we can glean from those in the evidential cases is that there is very good reason on a base level to assume survivability of humans in some kind of non-physical state. Even though a number of other details are conflicting and can't be corroborated and stuff in terms of what people's experiences are, and so we don't want to lend weight to them in terms of what that state is, the details of that state. What we can glean from them, from the evidence, is it's very likely that humans survive in a non-physical state, and that's just based on that evidence alone. Obviously, as a Christian, I believe there's evidence outside of that that we survive in a non-physical state after our death. But anyway, following those fields and understanding better the relationship between the brain and our memories, I think is going to shed light on whether or not it's actually going to be possible for us to clone a currently existing person and have their memories carry over. I mean, there's a sense in which identical twins are kind of clones, but they don't have. That doesn't bring into the equation the nature of memories. And so I'm talking about the scenario of having an adult person be cloned and all of their memories transferring over, And so that I am not confident is possible, because I hold the belief that it's most likely our memories are not stored in our brain, but rather I tend to lean in the direction of those neuroscientists who hypothesize the brain as a access point rather than the storage facility for our memories. And so anyway, yeah, I guess I just kind of blabbed there for a while on some rabbit trails, but I guess that's what I mainly wanted to do. Is there's a lot in the second half of this movie and in really the final third that just get my mind really thinking a lot, and I love that in a movie that can really get me both thinking and really feeling, and I wasn't, I'll talk about this in my review probably, but I wasn't feeling really intensely. That mostly it was a mystery I was trying to figure out, but because she was having such an intense emotional experience, the character, I was engaged, you know, on more than just an intellectual level, and so I appreciate that when a movie can do that. But anyway, yeah, just some, I don't really know what I would want to add to that. I feel like more than saying much about my positions on all those kinds of things, I just want to unload the observation that, wow, this movie could really be a jumping off point for some interesting conversation, and those would just be a couple of the topics that you could start with. But that's all I have to say for now. Thanks.